what's up, man?
What's going on?
Not much. Just seeing you live, so I hopped on.
Some
Probably wait a
people
little
will
bit.
say that no matter what, but I think it's cool. I think it's for human beings, and we'll talk about that right now. That's what the purpose of this whole discussion, you guys, is we're gonna discuss the whole things about Sage. I got a pretty good audience over here. I got about 80 people, and I've been talking about Sage a little bit and getting them ready for about what we're gonna talk about.
Okay. I got about 10 over here so far. 11. So yeah, just wait a little bit. I set a little timer thing out there, so hopefully people see that or whatever, and come and join. So even though I think it's got like 5 minutes left on it.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, the short answer, just to let you know right now, I got somebody talking to me in the comments, is I think it's fine for everybody. And I'm going to explain why in this whole thing. And it has to do with, that it's meant for the human beings that live on Turtle Island. And for me to just say that it's just for my culture and this, like, I'm teaching you native culture, it's just a small little piece and this little piece of everything. But really, the sage is everything. It's everything. And so that's why it's like that. And there's enough for everybody. Prairie sage is very prolific on Turtle Island. It grows like weeds. It's literally what Roundup kills in the prairie, in the fields, because it grows so prolific and fast. Like already people are doing the first harvest on it. And then it'll grow again, and they'll be able to harvest it again at the end of the season. And so the way it harvests, like with a prairie sage, grows in one straight stem. And then when you harvest it, after doing the ceremony and whatever, you leave it alive. You leave the stem sticking up. And then what it does is it grows two out of that stem. And so then when you harvest it at the end of the season, then you harvest two things. And so, like, depending on how you do it, the proper harvesting of the plant acts more like actually pruning it, and you can end up turning those little straight stems into a little bush of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what you do with nodes and stuff, just above the nodes where they branch out. If you pinch the top of it, they'll come out and grow two heads and stuff. Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty. Yeah, it is pretty prolific and stuff. Of course, the white sage is the real problem as far as
Right. Oh, I
actual
thank you.
things. So.
Right, and that's the point I was making too. The white sage, and it's just because the difference. Somebody just asked that the difference between the white sage and the prairie sage is literally they're different genus of plants. The white sage is of the salvia genus, and then the other regular cleansing sage is of the artemisia genus. Okay, and the salvia genus plants don't have that same daily cleanser spiritual property. Those salvia ones are more about evoking the spirits of specific ancestors and stuff like that, and certain tribe ceremonies. And so, like, my tribe doesn't even really use white sage.
No. It's
like at our ceremonies, we use the prairie sage.
It's more a closed practice deal. What about cedar? Do you use cedar in your smudges? Yep.
And that's cedar is one of the four medicines, and the way I teach it is that it's like sage cleanses and then cedar protects. And so there's different, like ways to use cedar for protection. Like you can cleanse your whole house with the sage, and then you can even like hang up cedar above your doorways, and that adds like an extra seal of protection, if you will. Or you can add cedar to your smudge when you do it, and that adds a little extra protection. But we mostly just use cedar at the sweat lodges. We always use cedar at the sweat lodges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of cedar at every sweat lodge.
Yeah. Well, there's it in we have a talking circle used to around the fire. You put cedar around the fire and stuff too. Yeah, cedar and well, sweetgrass kind of does. It's supposed to bring that protection and positive kind of energy too. But
You
yeah, anything else you use though? Use any like bear root or
Yes.
anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I use some different medicines, but those are kind of the ones that I don't really talk about a whole lot.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, the OSHA. Yeah. And then the other one,
The other one and that
the
other
bit,
one. Yeah,
the bitter root, the
yeah,
two different power roots, the bare root and the bitter root.
yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. Well, like we were talking about earlier about uh like I had mentioned here because I'm on your people's res right now actually. So um yeah, so I mean I was talking about like they had the issues with the selling of the stuff at the casino, but they still do it at the Zibwing
No,
Center.
I'm not going to.
But so I mean I don't know. Well, we'll get into that anyway. Even proceeds. Let me see here. What qualifies?
So the issue is that there's a group of people, natives, who don't agree that I sell sage. And that's what
So,
we are gathered here tonight to discuss. Should I just talk about it?
well, yeah. Well. First, how about this? How about I'll uh share my perspective on it, and then or what everybody's why they say the way. You see how I put this? Basically, the concerns with it, right? And then what everybody's the problem is or whatever, and then you can talk about why you think it's okay and stuff. And we just, so we have each other's perspectives or whatever, everybody's perspective covered. So about,
That
but
sounds good.
all right, well, um, well, for the problem with these that everybody kind of well, there's a few different things, right? There's not just one thing, but like when a person gathers medicine, but like you said earlier, you'd rather have somebody that knows how to gather medicine versus somebody that doesn't. Um, which is that's a good way of looking at it. But yeah, the intentions, right? Uh, the intentions of taking that because it is a living thing. It's a being, right? The intentions of
Mm-hmm.
taking that to keep the intentions pure. It was always like, well, you don't. Many of us were taught like you don't sell it, you don't uh associate the money with it, like a gain or anything with it. And helping people should be the pure intentions, like so you only help the people that actually need it, and the medicine only goes to the people that need it. And the people that like need help or something like that, everybody can get help. Everybody can
Mm-hmm.
get what they need with but at the same time though, you're always taught to give back to that person helping you. Yeah, give back to that person helping you. So but the two are separate, you know what I'm saying? So so that it didn't screw up the intentions, you know. But like I mentioned earlier too, we're all taught different, and sometimes, a lot of the same values and stuff, but different. What is it?
I got some right here. I got it all ready. Since I was going to talk about it, thought I would smudge myself. This is the thing, all right? Now, this is the thing. This is what all I'm going to talk about. Look. So, this plant spirit and the real plant spirit medicine, as in our language, Anishinaabe, the word for medicine is mashkiki, and we just translate it to medicine, but the literal translation is the strength of the earth. This is the strength of the earth that we translate as medicine. Mashkiki, meshka is to be strong, a key is the earth. So like a mashkiki wanini would be a man who has the strength of the earth, right? And so if we talk about the plant like a spirit, we could talk about that because I have such a relationship with this plant for years and years, 10 years probably. I've done hundreds of sweat lodges ceremonies, lived with this plant, gathered hundreds of pounds over the years for all these different sun dances and everything like that, right? What if it wasn't even my idea to sell this? And what if everyone who wants to buy some, it's not their idea? It's the plant spirit reaching out to them through their intentions and availability as like one of the spirits that's out there to answer their prayers. You got to think about how many people are praying for help of just regular everyday stress and things they can't get rid of, the anxiety of daily life. They can't sleep, they don't feel good, they can't go out in public, all these different issues that are coming up right now. You know what I mean? And what if this spirit, like through me, is making itself available as being one of the helper spirits of Turtle Island, which it is, and that's actually what's taking place. The reason this brings it to my mind is that I've been doing my dream catchers for almost a year now. I go out almost weekly, maybe every other week, and I get more willow. And there was a time there when everybody was attacking me. I questioned everything. I was like, should I be doing this? Should I? Should this? Should I really? What do I know? And I really went to introspect myself. I went out to gather some, and I asked the spirit of the red willow plant. And that is what it told me. It said, it reminded me that I started selling this because I had a dream about it. And the spirit of the plant told me that it wasn't even my idea to do it. It said that it wanted to work with me and help me do this. And it already told me that the plant spirits are not confined by time and space. So it's like interdimensional. Like this smudge right here, like goes like interdimensional. Okay, like right pushes right through the fabric of space and time and like smudges everybody in my room. The thing about the dream catcher and the willow spirit is that it exists all through these different timelines as long as the plant is alive. So I'm always like, I only gather it in a certain way from plants and I never like harm them and they're always alive. So the plant that this branch came off of is still alive in the forest, and this plant already knew whose window it was going to be hanging on. And it wasn't even their idea to want it, right? A lot of people who get these dream catchers don't even know they need a dream catcher until they randomly come into my room like the Matrix. I consider my room like in the movie The Matrix, they're all walking through the Matrix and they go into the Oracle's room. And then once you make your way into the Oracle's room, you never know what you're going to hear. You never know what it's going to be like. And that's what happens. And now that I have all of these, I've been doing this for a year. People can go on my Etsy store and you can just go read through reviews yourself of people talking about how they had night terrors for years and this helped them, or they never had a dream in their life and they had their first dream, or they sleep in better. All these things that I didn't even really think about when I was making them available. Now I can tell you that this doesn't just catch bad dreams. It can help you sleep better. It can help you remember dreams. It can help you dream more. This is just a crazy thing, man. And that's what I understand about these plant spirits. So that's why I think, as far as sage goes, the most important thing is that it's gathered properly and correctly. If you do the ceremony for the plant and you ask it, state your intentions clearly. Go out into the field, put out your feast, put out your tobacco, and ask the plant and say, can I gather you and make you available for everybody? Like that. Tell it, can I sell you on TikTok? Do you like that? And you know how to read the spirits, you know what I mean? Like, if they agree, the wind will blow and all the little silver flashes, and they'll be like, yeah. And then when you're doing it, everything is nice and nice. But if you're not supposed to do that, it's not like that. You can't find it. Somehow it's like, doesn't work out. Like, you get stung by a bee, or you like cut your finger, or something like that. You know what I mean? So then, like, you can't get that much. And so it's like the plant will allow you to properly collect as much as is going to be needed. And I feel like last summer, that's why I got so much. I wasn't even planning on selling it. I go and collect it for ceremonies. And after COVID hit and everything like that, and all the ceremonies kept being canceled, and nobody was going to powwows, nobody was doing the Sundance, nobody was doing anything because you couldn't have those large gatherings. I had all this sage. Once I started selling the dream catchers, the plant of the spirit of the sage wanted to step in on that too. I'm telling you, it wasn't my idea. I must do this. And then the more and more I thought about this, I'm like, I bring up some of the hardest content on TikTok, I think. I think the topics that I cover about history and the things that I bring up are some of the toughest stuff. People who never heard about this stuff before, it could really affect their lives, and it could cause a lot of emotion and stress and all these different things. And having sage available for them to give them something to help them with that's the real power of the medicine. You know what I mean? Like, the real power of that medicine helps you when you're healing the most. Like, you're really supposed to kind of use it all the time and every day, but you kind of forget when everything's kind of okay. But when things are bad and everything's happening and you have all this stuff, that's when they reach for the medicine and they light the smudge, and then you feel it. That's how everybody knows it's real, because you feel it. That's how you know the spiritual property is activated. But I don't believe that it could be negative. I don't think that humans can change and put their own negative energy into a plant like sage, because what sage actually is one of the grandfather spirits of Turtle Island. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, you mentioned something like intentions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like from my understanding, right, from what I was taught, the intentions, the purer they are, the better, and so like when I go gather medicine or something, of course I leave an offering, and I even go like based on my understanding of plants too, like say how you harvested at the nodes and stuff, right? I also sometimes I feed them, like I'll bring not only tobacco, but I'll bring some like maybe worm castings or something like that, or I'll bury something at the foot of it. So as a gift to the plant too, not just that. But I'm just saying though, like if your intentions on gathering, right, that's the people that have the problem, and like it goes against how I was taught too, is like the intentions if you're going to gather it to sell it, how is the intentions pure? And that's like the issue. Um, and I mean, I understand that a lot of people, like especially a lot of people that were like Christians or something, how they if they get out of the faith or something, they want to get in someone. They lack that spiritual ability. You know what I'm saying? They don't have anything
Mm-hmm.
to go on, right? And so they want to learn something. They want to learn different things. And as you know, you reach a lot of people, man. You talk about a lot of things. You got a lot of influence. So, like, what example are you setting if you're collecting these medicines and profiting off them? I think that's like the concern that a lot of people have. Because
All right, let's just, okay, let me address that. Okay, first of all, we have to define what profit is. Okay, profit is what you pay your bills with. Profit is what you put your meat on the table with. The opposite of profit is debt. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, am I getting rich off of this? Like, am I abusing it? Or is it something that's stepping up to help me to be able to do the work that I'm doing right now? You know what I mean? Like, I was able to leave my job, and I don't feel like that if I had a regular job in the industries that I worked in before, like human services and education, that if I worked in those fields, I would be able to speak like I do in my videos. I mean, I say it like it is. I hit the hard topics. I say what I think a lot of people are afraid to say, and I try to make sure that it's said in a way where that video goes crazy and as many people hear it as possible. And so, like, I feel like I'm also sticking myself out there a lot for the people. Like, I'm running out into the middle of the battlefield and I'm taking all those bullets and stuff like that. And so I feel like by now that if I was doing something wrong with the sage plant, like something would have hit me, like something would have got me, something would have brought me down. I would have been exposed in some way. But what if Sage has literally become like one of my spirit helpers and steps up to help me and protect me on this journey? That's what is like, I'm even struggling to comprehend, but that's what it's trying to, like, every time I try to distance myself from it or say that, like, we're not going to do this anymore, like, that's like what floods in. And I just got told by somebody, and we just went out and we got some, and I happened to just like it's just like it comes in because it's a part of this. And as far as the intentions, okay, it's not about making the money. It's about the exchange. There has to be an exchange and a trade. Everyone's like, oh, you're not supposed to sell sage. You're supposed to trade for it or go somewhere and get it gifted to you. Well, what is wrong with trading for money? You know what I'm saying? Like, we used to talk about this out at the ceremony so much. Why is every medicine man dirt poor? Why is every dude who runs a sweat lodge just like, they're all poor, super poor, not just regular poor? Like, they're driving around in cars that are like falling apart and duct taping their shoes together to poor. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I think that, there's, like, it should be available. Like, if you don't have any money, like, you should still be able to get it. And I think that is more of an issue with charging for it than actual profit. Is that, like, what if somebody needs it and they can't afford it? Well, then it should still be available to them. You know what I mean? And so figuring out like how to do that, yeah, I just tell people, to message me, because every once in a while people will send me a message and they'll be like, yo, I don't have any money. I really need some sage. Like, I'm disconnected and blah, blah, blah. And, if they send me their address, I'll send them some. you know. And as far as like who should be able to do it, like I said, I think everyone, including the priest and the corporate executive and Donald Trump. I think that Donald Trump should take some of my sage and smudge the Trump Tower and see how that goes.
I got a different sage I'd give him, but yeah, little one that grows a little farther south. But yeah, well,
Not light
what,
sage,
what
prairie sage.
what happens though, right? If it becomes common practice. Everybody starts adopting this practice,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, of course, there's going to be a big market in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if enough people get to, it becomes the new thing to do, right? The new thing to do. Yeah, it's prolific now, but as soon as there's a market for something, you know what happens. You
Well,
know,
that's the thing. When people are properly educated about it, they'll know that they have to get it from somebody who knows how to gather it properly. Will keep the whole indigenous thing, and it could really be a pathway for many native people to get out of poverty. As far as it's not going to go away, it's one of the plants of Turtle Island. Like, it's prolific, it grows. You can buy seeds, like you can buy like the regular old prairie sage seeds, 300 of them for like 50 cents, and you can get like thousands of them and just spread them in your yard and grow as much as you want. They literally grow like weeds. They are literally the weeds in the prairie, and they will grow prolific every year. And when it's properly harvested, it makes it more abundant. So, properly harvesting a field of sage year after year will cause it to grow thicker and thicker every year. And then properly harvesting it halfway through the summer will cause it to grow, two stems out of one stem. Like the proper harvesting of the plant always consists of leaving the plant alive, unless you're doing one of the roots, but this plant specifically, you don't kill it when you take it, you always leave it alive.
well, you know how plants, well, they're beings, right? And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't realize uh, what people are discovering now. The scientists, from like what I was taught, they are beings. They are living things that have a certain awareness to them and a purpose and everything. But yeah, even science now, they the
Mm-hmm.
experiments that they know when they're damaged. They communicate in many different ways. They have memory, even though they don't have a brain. You know. Uh, so yeah, when we damage them, when we take from them or something like that, it is hurting them. And they may or may not have a problem with that, depending on uh, on the intentions behind it. So I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is with the position that you're in and the following that you have, the example that you set, you're okay with that. And some people aren't, right?
Like, people
So
think that I'm like doing like, like some kind of mass crazy production. I think I went
no, I
through like 8.5 pounds or something like that. You know what I mean? And like half of that is about as much as they would use in like a one Sundance. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
like it and it was like, that's why I call it the spirit starter kit, because when you're going to start on the spiritual path, I've found generally, universally, there's three things that it's consisting of. You learn how to somehow feast the spirits in whatever way that is, right? And then you also need a form of cleansing, and that's the sage, and you need a form of protection. and that's the dream catcher. And that's why I called it the starter kit, because it comes with my book, which talks about how to use the medicines, and it talks about the grandfather spirits of Turtle Island, the 7 grandfather teachings, and how to feast them and utilize their teachings in your everyday life. And so, I think that maybe the fact that I tried to make some kind of spoof infomercial as kind of a joke, like, triggered people thinking that I was actually trying to make an infomercial about it, but it was just like a spur of the moment thing. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't try to make it like a commercial or an advertisement. I tried to make it like a spoof commercial advertisement to because I had already had all those things available, and I had just realized that that's what they all were. I had a dream catcher for sale, I had sage for sale, I had my book for sale. You know what I mean? And somebody bought all of them, and they made the comment like, I bought all these things and I'm using them all and it's changing my life. And so then that's when I used that comment reply to be like, dude, this is like a whole spirit starter kit. Look at this. Like, I was excited to realize even that that's what I had done. Like, it wasn't like an intentional advertisement. You know what I mean? And so I think that a lot of people may have only seen that video of mine and like got mad about it or something, thinking that I was just trying to make money, you know?
As important as spirituality is and stuff, and people for finding a way, that they can help themselves. That's good and stuff. Uh, like for instance, I sometimes talk about making ourselves stronger, right? Uh, and the value system of my people, right? As far as making ourselves better and stronger and increasing our morals and ethics and stuff. And
Starter
do
kits
you
will be
think that's
back up pretty soon.
is that important to you?
Wait, say that again?
Um, yeah, in my tribe, we focus a lot on making ourselves stronger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, and morals and ethics and stuff like that. Do you think that's an important thing to teach?
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay.
And that's basically what in that book is about. The 7 grandfather teachings are basically the core ethics, you know?
Yeah. Is
It has to
okay.
do
How
with
about this though? How about where do you think the path to humanity? Where do you think we're headed right now? If nothing changes, if we don't somehow figure out ways to stop what we're doing, right? Because obviously it's even in my years, right? The time I've been alive, I've seen drastic changes. Uh, where do you think it's headed?
Well, that's why I talk about the 7 fires prophecies, because in that prophecy it talks about how in the time of the 7th fire, the light skinned race will be given a choice between 2 roads, and it depends on their choice, depends on their road. That's why I kind of, another thing I get accused of is catering to white people. And I kind of do, and I'll admit that I do. And it's because the prophecy is really why I'm here. I'm a warrior of the 7th fire prophecy, and I'm here to teach about it. And I'm here to help them in any way I can, if it can be through history or culture, offering them teachings on how to reconnect with their own ancestors and their own old ways through, feasting and using of our medicines if they need it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we're all headed to a place where we're all going to be coming together. If all goes well, And I do feel like there will be some sort of new spirituality to emerge that will be a melding of the different parts of the respective spiritualities represented by the different colors of the people on the medicine wheel. So I feel like there will be some different kind of thing like coming about, especially because what this really is about is healing from the effects of colonization, which was fueled by religion. And so much of people's original culture and spirituality had been lost through time because of the colonization process and the effects of Christianity on the earth. And it simply can't all be remembered, and everyone can't simply go back to practicing the ways their ancestors did 1,000 years ago before Christianity decimated them. So I feel like there's going to be some spiritual evolution that will come about that will consist of these blend of things that we do remember, and it will have to do with the spirits mostly. People, that's why I teach people to connect with the spirits, right? Feast the spirits. What are they teaching you? What's your purpose? Find out who you are, your history, your own personal history, and feast those spirits. Get a dream catcher so that when your ancestors or the spirits come to give you your dream or your message or whatever, it's nice and clear, because those are how we're going to develop this. That's how native spirituality has developed originally. That's where our ceremonies come from, is from dreams and visions. And so I feel like the new people of the seventh fire prophecy will come together to develop this different type, this new spirituality, you know. And as far as what I mean by blending, like elements of Eastern philosophies and beliefs, like meditation and those different aspects, right? There's different aspects of these other people around the world, their cultural beliefs that we don't necessarily have in indigenous beliefs, right? And so I don't think it's going to be one person's way taking over everything. It's going to be like a melding of some sort, but it will have to start with the indigenous people at the center. I do believe the purpose of indigenous people surviving all the way through colonization is to be the ones to be the caretakers of the spirituality of the people, the medicine people, if you will.
Well, what made us strong, right, was our relationship to nature, right?
Was.
Um, made us good warriors when we first started fighting. Yeah, they couldn't do anything uh, really to us because a lot of people over in Europe, they couldn't hunt. They weren't allowed to hunt, and only nobles or that sort of thing. But and we helped them out, and everything that happened, But you got to look at the state of Europe over there, right? At the time, they were going through what, 100-year war, famines, plagues. Just it was a really bad place. They had cut down all their trees. They had ruined their water. Uh, the in the the practices that they had, it was all about money, right? It was all about the greed, the money, the going from one place, finding new markets, and then they came over here, and we had lived here for a long time, forever, right? And what was it? If you look at what they described, it was a pristine paradise. Everything where animals were all over. That's because we kept a balance, right? Uh, we only took what we needed. Uh, we understood enough to where if we're taking something, there has to be an exchange, right? And an exchange has to be of value. And of course, like tobacco is placed today, but does tobacco have the same meaning as it did back then? If we're, I mean, not everybody used tobacco, of course, but the things that we did use, like willow, right? Uh, Making that, taking that, and processing, you only had so much of it. It was time consuming, and it had value, right? That's why you gave it to someone that helped you or whatever. There was an exchange there, and it was a meaningful exchange because there's no more of that. Once you're out of it, you're out of it, right? Um, and because of that system that we had going, we didn't have the problems. But look at the last couple hundred years over here, right? Look at within the last 100 years, it's nuts. I mean, just the stuff that's been taken, the stuff that is forever gone, right? You don't. A lot of the stuff is the ecosystems. The balance is way out of whack, right? So, do you think that we should like focus maybe on that? And that's our place as indigenous people, is to try to get that balance back, to try to stop this consuming, this mindless consuming, and preach about balance and preach about sustainability and stuff like that. Uh, do you think that would be a way to stop what's going on and to stop our current path?
That's a complicated. Like, ask me something simpler and more specific.
What's your weather like today? uh, what I'm saying is as indigenous people, right? I'm not speaking just on natives. I'm speaking on all indigenous people. Shouldn't our role be more about teaching people that this current system that we live in, this consumer culture, is going to be the end of us all? It's gonna.
It is, but the thing is that we have to just go ahead and admit that either way, it's not going to go back to the way it was before. And if it does, it's not going to happen in our lifetime. And if it does, it doesn't matter how much money we have. It just matters if you're able to, like, if there's a solar flash and we go back to the Stone Age or something, or there's a polar shift or something, everybody thinks that something crazy is going to happen like that. In that case, there's nothing we can do to be prepared for that. It's going to be survival of the fittest, straight up. That's it.
Well,
Because we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know if there's going to be earthquakes or floods. We don't know who's going to be left alive. We don't know what it's going to be. And like you could try to practice your survival skills and get your bug out bag ready and stuff like that, but the truth is how you're going to survive that is by being in contact with the spirits. And so I do believe that that's what I do on my channel. I talk about what I think is wrong with the system, and I do talk about the hard stuff. I have called out the colonizers many different times. I went straight for the church. I went ahead and I went ahead and appropriated Jesus. Okay, Jesus is my grandpa now, so don't even tell me about Jesus. He's mine. And I did all that sort of work because I'm working my audience, desensitizing them from that fear of hell. The fear of hell is what keeps people locked in mostly to the system. And so when they release that fear of hell, then they can be human beings and learn something and start actually talking to each other like human beings. Then we can have a talk like two human beings, and you're not somebody who thinks you're better than me because I'm going to hell and you're going to heaven because of who you pray to. You know what I mean? And that's really what it comes down to for me, is that we are not the leaders of this society. We could say all day long as Indigenous people what we think should happen, but until the light skin race catches on and moves our society in that direction by allowing our voice at the table, that's what's going to make it happen. And until that happens, we have to make sure we have the ability to make our voice heard, which means we have to have money and we have to have the ability to, if we need to travel and if we need to be speaking and staying on topic and being available to people who have these different concerns and stuff like that, we have to exist within this society. And part of the reason why our voices are so hard to hear is because of our aversion to money. Okay? Money is like crystallized energy in this society. The more you have, the further you can go. Can you be content without it? Yes, you can. Can you travel without it? It's going to be very difficult trying to hitchhike. You know what I mean? And that really goes with so much things. If we're talking about getting a message out, if I'm broke, I can make my videos, but if I have money to work with, I can develop classes, I can put together a team, I can start a business, I can start a school, an entire retreat center, I can start a whole university. I can make the model that everyone else can use to bring back the spirituality to their area. Because if we're going to try to do this without any money involved right now, then it's just going to always be something that we're talking about, But I feel like it's something that I'm actually doing right now. Like I'm doing it. Like I feel like I'm a spiritual teacher, legitimately able to make a living being one without being hired by a white man company and having to work for them to do that. And paving that road is going to make it easier for the guy who runs a sweat lodge and the guy who's a medicine man and the guy who does all these other things to find that support out in the greater community, because our res communities, let's face it, they're not going to support us. There's a medicine man right over here and he works full time and the res don't support him. And everyone on the res, when they got problems, they go to him with a handful of tobacco. It's like he should literally be having a salary like as much as a doctor right now. You know what I mean? But then people will say, oh, he's just doing it for the money. And it's like, no, you can't do that for the money. You have to have the gifts to be able to do that in the first place. You can't just go up to anybody and give them some money and tell them to heal you. And if your medicine doesn't work, you ain't going to last very long anyway. That's what I think.
I think, well, that's the whole point, right? Like, that's the thing that's messed up. That's why the whole colonizer culture, right? That's why it's been such a plague and a cancer on the earth, is because you can raise your social status by wealth acquired. Well, what does that promote? That promotes greed. Now, my people, you promoted your social status through good acts, good deeds, right? When you earned certain things that you could wear, and everybody saw that you had done good deeds or did good things for the tribe, sacrificed, and that's how you raise your social status. And yeah, as far as you said with the people that yeah, they're just getting tobacco or something. Like around here, Donnie comes down or something like that, he doesn't have to pay for nothing. We take him out to eat. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's not. But money isn't a thing to him as much as you would think. His needs are met, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And people like that about him. You know what I'm saying? But I agree that if you do stuff, if you are a teacher, it shouldn't even be a thing, dude. You shouldn't have to want people to value you. They should be, looking out for you. You know what I'm saying? And that was, I mean, back in the day, that was easy, right? Because there wasn't money, there wasn't bills to pay, there wasn't all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the big thing, right? Today we do have bills. Today we do have things, and we live in a system that doesn't match our own. So yeah, that's
You
a
know,
tough
like,
one to
and
figure out.
that's the thing. And that's the thing, you know, like money doesn't make a person evil. You know, like some people, the more money you give them, the more money they spend on themselves. But with some people, the more money you give them, the more they help other people. There's like a lot of different things. Like money isn't the root of all evil. Money is a tool. Money is a tool just like a gun. How many of us use guns when we hunt now? Are you still out there hunting with a bow and arrow? Are those Inuits up in Alaska hunting bows, hunting whales on their kayaks that they made in the with a, you know what I'm saying, and a spear? Like, no, they're on a full fishing ship. You know what I mean? We're using guns, we're using iron kettles when we boil maple syrup, and they're all just tools, right? Like a gun, it can be a tool to like provide meat for your family, but it could also be a weapon to hurt a lot of people. The same thing with money. That's what I think. Is it's a tool. It has to do with colonization, but you know, it's part of the society we're living in. It's not like we can just decide like, hey, I don't like money no more, I'm not going to use it. You know what's going to happen to me? I'm going to end up on the street somewhere or in prison. It's
Well, I
illegal.
mean,
It's illegal to be broke in this society.
a lot of people that hate, or I shouldn't say hate, but the messed up thing in society right now, right, is we're not wired to live like this. We're not wired to live next to people we don't know. We're wired to live in a community, like a community setting, and I mean, doing good things like selfless acts or helping people, right, gives you good neurochemicals. Science proves that, right? We're not
Mhm.
designed to or supposed to live like this, where
Mhm.
you get robbed of that because the government takes your money, taxes, and all that kind of stuff, and then they help people supposedly, right? But the way we're supposed to be in natural law says that that's supposed to be part of us. That's how we're supposed to be. So you think there's a way to get back to that? Like if we all, the people, just outside of cities or whatever, we lived in a more, like, the people that know what's up got together and they lived in a way and they produced all their own goods, their own power, their own food, and they wouldn't need money as much, but they still could make stuff, and sell without that need. Kind of like the Amish, but a modern Amish. You know what I'm saying? Uh, do you think that'd be a way to change the world and the current state that we're on, and maybe it take away the power of the government as much as we're not using? If the idea caught on, right? I mean, obviously it would have to be well thought out and be appealing for people to want to change and stuff. And do you think that'd be a positive way to correct the path that we're on?
Well, you know, I listen a lot. A lot of my content and a lot of my information comes from Mark Charles. And Mark Charles ran for president. And according to his philosophy about government, if we want to look at our government like a house, right? We're always working on trying to repair the walls and fix the windows and seal up the cracks, right? And the reason we have to do that, though, is because the entire foundation is crooked, you know? And so if we want to talk about something like indigenous socialism, or if we want to talk about like reforming something within the system, it's like we take this, we're just trying to add to this house. And it's just going to have like new cracks show up in other places. And so, in order for it to work, we got to go all the way down to the foundation and rebuild the entire foundation of the country in a level way, because the founding documents, starting with the Declaration of Independence, are systemically racist by labeling us, for one thing, as merciless Indian savages and making it illegal to own land and holding everybody back. So, like, it, like the very documents that make our country a country on the day it was signed. Everybody wants to see those words, we the people, and it goes on to talk about the Declaration of Independence. But what they don't teach you in school is that at the time they signed the Declaration of Independence, we the people literally only meant white landowning men. Like, you had to be white, you had to own land, and you had to be a man. And that's what an American citizen was for like the first, I don't know, 80 years or something of America. you know? And so everyone's like, yeah, Declaration of Independence. And it's like, look, unless you actually own your land and you're white, like, you wouldn't even have, it wouldn't have meant nothing to you. And that's why all the regular white men who didn't own land hopped on that gravy train of hunting the bison down and hunting the natives down for scalps and joining the cavalry in the Civil War because they were just trying to get some land to start their farm, and they actually weren't even considered American citizens themselves. That's the craziest thing about America. Everybody thinks that it was all about equality and freedom, and it wasn't.
Well, there's the problem too, right? The government.
That's why I talk about history, and everyone's like, "Why you got to spread hate and talk about stuff that happened hundreds of years ago?" And it's like, because of that stuff is why everything is wrong today, and why we ain't just gonna move on together. Like, there's so many colonizers in all of our comments, right? And these colonizers just want to be like, look, none of us are colonizers anymore. And it's just like, yeah, that everything was bad back then. Everyone conquered everybody and everybody did bad things. So let's just like move forward together. And the reason we can't is it's like, look, if you can't say that was wrong, I don't trust you and I ain't going nowhere with you. You know what I mean? And that's why there has to be some sort of reparation process that fixes the very foundation the country is built on. If they held us back as native people for 150 years of this country, it's just like the board on Monopoly. There's all the squares. Okay, they took all of America, they divvied it up into square land plots, they sold them all to white people, and then they let us be citizens. Okay, the reparation process and the evening of that board would be paying us all like a bunch of money so that we can buy whatever land we want, not giving us a chunk of land way off in the corner and saying, hey, you guys all go live over here now on your land we're giving back to you. You know what I mean? That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, but the whole problem is the system, the government. I mean, yeah, you mentioned all the stuff it had done, but what about all the stuff like the St. Louis experiments? That was done to everybody. Look at the MK Ultra. Normal people, normal everyday people. Government come in there.
That's what the colonizer mindset is, yo. It's
It's
the government
they
program.
well
It's Agent Smith.
they do stuff, man. Like I don't know, like I don't understand how anybody can get behind them, right? Uh, Knowing what they do, not just to our people. Everybody knows they were horrible to our people, but to everybody, right? Everybody. The whole
Each
system that they,
other.
the whole
That's why
system.
they don't think they're racist, because they're even horrible to each other. They're just like, yeah, we treat everybody like that.
Yeah. There's well, like the whole deal though is I mean, how can you? I don't understand how anybody can support. We should all just be trying to dismantle them somehow, but there has to be something in play. You can't just. There had to be something that takes in place. So there was this book. You ever heard of The Peaceful Warrior?
Yes.
Have you? There's a quote in
The
there by
way
a
of the
character.
peaceful warrior.
There's a quote in there by a character, right? And he says the secret to change is not wasting energy fighting the old, but building the new. And this the idea is that if you want to change, you want that change, and you recognize the problems in the system, instead of wasting our energy on fighting the old, shouldn't we use that energy to build the new, build something better to show people, hey, this is the better way. Do you think that's a good way?
Well, here's what I think about, like, okay, so really the issues are, we'll say, climate change, right? We'll say the issues are the environment, right? I think by teaching people the spiritual way of feasting the spirits and connecting with the land, and I really don't think, okay, I seen that video where the guy asked the question. He's like, "What's something that you think and you don't say out loud because everybody will think you're crazy if you say it?" I was going to stitch that, right? And what I think is that I don't think necessarily that it's too much industry that's causing the climate to do what it's doing. I think what it is not enough people are feasting the spirits of the land anymore. All of the people on Turtle Island did ceremonies to aspects of nature, to the river and the wind and the rain and the earth and all these different things all around them wherever they lived, right? And that's like very little now. And if the original instructions of the creator to human beings are to be the ones who feast the spirits and keep them healthy and happy, well, then it's like we're starving the spirit of the storm. We're starving the spirit of the wind and the spirit of the water because so many people enjoy those nice areas in nature and they go and take their families there, but they don't do the ceremony and the feast to the spirits of those areas. And so like the spirits of those areas like start to get like weak and hard to fade in and out. And I really feel that like if everyone in America like feasted the spirits every day when they woke up, whatever spirits they were connected to as their individual person, right? Some people feast the crows, and some people would feast the rocks, and some people would feast the storm, and like all between all people, like all the spirits would get feasted, right? And I think that that process would make nature more healthy and stronger, and that individual connection from the workers at the factories and the people who work in the government would gradually shift towards integrating the feelings of the earth in their decision making process. Really, that's what's left out of these huge corporate decisions, is the feelings of the earth. How would the earth feel if you did that? Like they don't consider that. They're like, yeah, chop that all down. It's going to make us a lot of money. They're not like, how would the earth feel about that? You know what I mean? Because they're not connected to that. It just is not even there. But establishing that connection, and they're like, maybe we should do it in a different way that doesn't hurt it so much. You know what I mean? I don't think it's really about getting rid of industry. It's about shifting industry from having the goal of making profit to actually being of benefit to the earth that it's producing these things on, rather than just using up as much resources as they can. I'm not talking about sustainable either. To me, sustainable is like, let's find that minimum daily recommended dose and keep it right there. Make sure we don't have an abundance, right? Because if there's too much, it gets out of control and everything goes crazy, right? Like we as humans have the ability to like maintain those levels, right? And so to me, it's like more about what does the, like when you're feeding the fire, like if you're a firekeeper and you feed the fire, you kind of look at the fire and you can tell like if it needs a log here, if it needs a log there, what does it need in order to keep burning hot, right? It's like that with like nature. That's how I think that it all like will gradually shift, where it doesn't have to be like this huge big thing. It's just that as the humans reconnect to the spirits of the nature, people will get ideas and visions, and they'll change the way they think of work, and they'll change the way they think of industry and even profit. Because really, that's the fear I think that people have about making money off of any of these things, is that like, oh, are you like, what's going to happen if you get rich or something? Are you going to turn bad? Are you going to start abusing people? Are you going to you know, or are you going to develop your company in a good way that it is symbiotic to the earth and continues to be helpful to people, right? Am I going to
Yeah.
end up buying a big piece of land and starting a big sage farm and hiring a bunch of like, you know, immigrants to like, you know, make me cheap sage? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I understand you're not gonna get like it's not gonna be like that, but uh, yeah, I don't know. The only thing I've noticed, the biggest thing I've noticed is people that learn about nature, learn about the what goes on underneath your feet. You know, the fungal networks, the plants, how they help each other and how they communicate. Learn about the things and allows them to appreciate this complexity that they don't understand. And those the people that understand it, you know what I'm saying, like the mycologist or the, the botanist or something, they have a deep respect because they do understand these things, and so that's why sometimes I talk about that. Sometimes I'll talk about the complicated relationships, and try to get them to understand the beings themselves, the plants, and all that kind of stuff, right? Because when they do
Mhm.
that, they build that respect, and that's one way that they actually, you know, learn to appreciate, learn what it is when they're doing, learn that by to realize how messed up it is that we wipe our backsides with trees that that were once thing, that they don't serve any other purpose, but they're taken to do what? To wipe our butts, right? I mean, isn't that it's a living thing that got killed for that? I mean, it's kind of messed up when you think about it. Nobody thinks about things like that. Nobody thinks about that the largest crop in the United States is grass. What purpose does that serve? Aesthetic purpose? Look how much time you waste mowing that. That's time you never get back. And not only that, you're wasting stuff doing that. All these little pointless things that are not indigenous. That when you talk about it, right? You get people to realize, well, that is kind of stupid. Why do I do that? That's kind of stupid. Why do we do that? And so that's kind of like I guess you would say, my way of approach. Um, but yeah, as far as the spiritual thing, if you can connect to stuff, like how do you connect to nature? What do you like? Say you want to go out there and learn about something, or just you just like when you're going out there to gather willows and stuff like that. How do
Mhm.
you connect to nature? Like, what do you do? And do
Well,
you
I
think you?
think
Hold on, let me ask. Let me put a part to that. And what do you think? Is what you do? Do you think that others could learn to have a relationship with nature with that, like in the same way you do, kind of?
yes, I think that it's all about the spiritual path. But I think the original connection is unique to the individual. I don't think there's a prescribed manner that it could take place. And I think it has to do with feasting and building up. The most common way to do it is through either a ceremony, one of the hard ceremonies like a Sundance, or a vision quest. And through like going out and doing your fast in the woods for 4 days, right? Like to gain the initial connection. And then once you understand that, but that I think takes work and it takes dedication. It's I think I think the best way to understand it is like we could use the 12 steps, the 12-step method for recovery, okay? Whereas the first step is realizing you have a problem, and if you apply that to the spiritual path, you realize you don't know nothing. Like I have no idea why am I here? What's my purpose? I know nothing. And then the second step is realizing that a higher power, a power higher than yourself, can restore you to sanity, like give you purpose, like okay. And then the third step is to to turn your will and your life over to your higher power as you know it. Now, that is a very difficult thing. It's not just an intellectual concept where you're like, yeah, I'll give my life to my higher power. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll do that. Like, it's nothing like that. Like, you literally have to, like, put yourself in a position where that's what you do to get through that. Like being out in the woods by yourself for 4 nights. Like on that first night, you're going to be so scared. You're going to be praying to God, and you're going to be praying for this and that, and you're going to be imagining every noise you hear is the boogeyman coming to eat you, right? On the third night out there, you're going to add being starved and tired on top of that. And there'll be a time where either you freak out and you leave, or you say, you know what, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. And you give your will and your life over, and then whatever it is, it happens different for every single person, and nobody can tell you what it'll be. But if they show you something, they look at you, they give you something, and it's something for you personally that was just too much of a coincidence to have been a coincidence. You're just like, man, that was the spirits telling me now. That was my sign I needed. And then once you have that connection, that's when you start to develop your relationship, right, with the different spirits around you. And so I do think that, that's what the spiritual path is. Like, everyone eventually finds what spirits they work with the most. I don't think everyone on the spiritual path will be drawn to, like, collecting sage, for example, but they might have their own medicines that they are, working with, that then the people who come to them will just somehow coincidentally need that medicine to help them, right? Because it's the spirits that bring people to you for your help. It's, and that's just the spirits you work with are the ones that are going to bring the people to you. So yeah, I definitely think that's what it's all about. But I don't think it's something that I can teach in a video. Like, as far as being able to go and do a feast to the spirits of the plant and being able to harvest it properly. Like, in order for me personally to give someone else permission to do that, I gotta see you do it. I gotta understand. I gotta see the spirit tell me it's okay. Like, my personal permission isn't something I give to people unless they come and give me tobacco and I actually see that there's something there, right? And that's why I think the medicine, because I know how to collect it, and I know a lot of people who know how to collect it. Once it's collected properly, then it'll work no matter what. Like, you could drop it in the sewer and it could float down and get crapped on, and you could pick it up and roll it in a ball, put it in the sage and light it, and it will still do the same thing. Like, it's not going to diminish it. You could sell it for $1 million. It's still going to do the same thing. You could trade it to somebody for a blanket. It's still going to do the same thing, And so that's why I think that the most important part is the gathering of it. Once it's gathered, then whatever you do with it after that, it's like the medicine's journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I just
If you try to abuse the medicine, something bad will happen to you.
well,
That's what I've been waiting for.
yeah,
I'm like, man, is something bad about to happen to me?
yeah. Well, I take that. See, I mean,
Still here.
a lot of us, they
Knock on wood.
I've gotten kind of like talked to before because I use mushrooms, you know what I'm saying? And of course not everybody agrees with that, especially with natives, you know what I'm saying? The more traditional older generation, it's yeah, sometimes they don't like that. And but I believe, it comes from nature, and there's no harm from it, you know what I'm
Like I
saying?
said, there's a lot of medicines that I know that I wouldn't make a video about, and I wouldn't even talk about. Like, I wouldn't even allude to knowing about. But I think the 4 basic medicines should be common knowledge and commonly accessible: tobacco, cedar, sage, and sweetgrass. And they'll help everyone. They'll help anyone. They have a spiritual property, and like, if I was to teach my cultural legends as far as these plants, do I teach it as in the Anishinaabe culture, this is what it's like, or do I teach it as the original instructions from the creator to human beings who live on Turtle Island? This is what you do. You know what I mean? That's like, if I am to reform my entire identity. This is what I was talking about on live a couple nights ago, is that, like, if you grew up in a society, and I used a white person in an insulated white society as an example, right? And they grow up in church and surrounded by other white people who make them feel good, and they learn about Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims and how the Indians helped them, and then they skipped over everything about being bad, right? And then as an adult, they learn about the bad parts of history, and then they immediately, go into colonizer mode, and they have to go through this big process to be able to accept that, right? But as part of that process, they have to, like, break down the entire old world that they had and rebuild their entire world again with that new information involved in there. It's not like you can just add it on top of what you had before. You know what I mean? Like, as a native person, right? Like, if you grow up and you in the white world, and you're taught the way we are, and we're taught to be second best and all this stuff, in order for us to truly reclaim our identity, you can't just all of a sudden learn that you have this great culture and you have these great teachings and then add it on top of that. Like, you have to break down your entire identity and rebuild it, knowing that you have purpose and that you have all of this other stuff. And then that's when you start looking at your own teachings as something that isn't for like they classify it like in colonizer knowledge, like, oh, this tribe thought this, and this tribe thought this, and this tribe thought this, and they were like savages, and then daddy Christianity came and taught them how to be like civilized, right? Like, we have to deconstruct and break that all down, put ourselves back together again with that central identity of who we are. And then when we teach about our ways, I'm not teaching you about the native ways. I'm not teaching you about my tribal ways. I'm teaching human beings about the original instructions from the creator. Like, it becomes that big. You know what I mean? And it's not like something that's like contained as like a small little piece.
Yeah, my tribe's a little bit different. In fact, it's different within the people too, in that we don't really believe in a creator, right? It's more of a, I guess you could say, like spiritual energy, like a big spiritual energy. Like, and this might only be.
Here, actually, can I call like a 10-minute break? I gotta
Yeah,
go to the bathroom, and I'm gonna grab some more coffee. Are you
yeah, no
guys cool
problem.
with that, audience? Everybody take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back and we'll continue this. Does that sound good?
Yeah,
I'll stay
you can do that.
on. I'll stay on. I'll just go on in here real quick.
All right.
Awesome.
But yeah, like I was saying though, we my tribe, it's not just all of my tribe either, but the one I was what I was taught, it's like we're all part of the same thing. And tuning, right? Tuning is uh, you make yourself stronger by working on yourself and making yourself better, and then your purpose comes to you. So that's um, yeah. Anyways, drop more Wi-Fi. Right? Drop my life foot. Oh, should I go take a pee too or what? Yeah. All right, I'll go take a break real quick so you guys can talk to yourselves. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the dragonflies. Somebody's got to entertain him. You got to come back. He's coming back. He can entertain you. Oh, I'll only be a couple minutes. Oh, thank you for the flowers. I'll only be a minute or two. I'm just going to use the bathroom. Oh, anybody still here? You hear somebody? Yep, I came back. Hey, what's going on? So about those shrooms, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like the more I don't know. I think that was. Look at the Hopewell. I'll say that. Look up the Hopewell. Look up the mushroom effigy. Look up that. Oh, and then look up their art. The art's crazy. Art is actually kind of like
All right.
What the heck was that? Oh, the Mayans. They're kind of like the Mayans. That's what it reminds me of. Which they had something in common too. Pretty weird. You ever looked at those old civilizations, like those old, like the Hopewell and the Mound Builders and all that kind of stuff? Have you ever dove down that rabbit hole? Pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Big civilization, trading and stuff. Yeah. It was,
But is there any more questions? Somebody's over here telling me that I shouldn't interrupt you. Do you feel like I'm interrupting you?
Oh, what's her name is? Hold on. Let me see here. Whoops. Trying to. Man, they should. I wish they wouldn't. It's almost impossible to type on a live, huh?
Yeah, like I don't know how to put your own comment on there. If you if you press on somebody else's comment, you could reply to them.
Oh, okay. I don't know what I was doing, but yeah. What did we talk? Okay, we talked about. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about, or like? I don't know. I'd like to see everybody get along. You know what I'm saying?
I'd like to see that too.
It doesn't do any good.
And I've been minding my own business when people have stuff to say about me as well. And I've been doing my best to stay in my own lane. And it's a good thing we're having this talk, because I was literally about this close to just be like, look. Ain't talking about that no more.
Yeah, I was just you see, we have a lot of beef with these
because that is the thing, right? Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say we got enough to deal with these racist people, and then we got the, of course the Hoteps and all those people, and we can't afford to like not get along really. I mean, we had to. Makes us look weak too. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I would like to see more of bring us closer together and stuff, and help each other out and have each other's backs and all that stuff, because nobody else does. Nobody else has really got our back, So
well, that's the thing, man. I was gonna make a joke video, and it was just gonna be like this. It's just gonna be like this. The caption will say, "How you get support in the Native community," and it'll be me going, "Nah, Zeph, flip." How you get hate in the Native community? You effing effer, you ain't nothing. I'm gonna bring you down. You're a POS. You worthless, doing bad things to people. The best you can hope for in the Native community is nobody talks to you. Nobody knows how to be like, yeah, you're awesome. Way to go. Keep doing it. Like in the Native community, that just like doesn't exist. Okay. They're just like, if they think you're doing all right and they think you're doing good, they'll sit back and just go, as if. But if they don't like you, they'll come out of the woods, they'll make posts about you, and they won't even talk about what you're doing or what you're saying. They'll talk about who you are and where you came from and how everything that makes you as a person is somehow defective. They don't even go after what you're talking about. That's the difference between lateral violence and criticism. Okay, criticism goes after the person's argument, it goes after the person's content and gives them a chance to say something in return. Okay, lateral violence goes straight after that person's person. It goes straight after that person's credibility and who they are, and it's just a straight up attack. And when you bring a person's business into it, that goes into the next legal phase of straight up defamation of character. Okay, and if you're crap talk and gossip about somebody is affecting their ability to provide for their own family, that's why it's called lateral violence. because you're literally preventing them from being able to just exist in the world. You're keeping them actively down and poor and broke. And that's why that's one of the worst things in the Native communities today. If you gossip about people and you talk about rumors and you spread that stuff around, it could affect their employment opportunities. And once you do that, you're affecting their ability to provide for their family, and you just shot them down and wounded them. It's violence, it's social violence. And that's why they call it lateral violence. And it's not, it's the next step up from oppression.
I mean, I've lived on a few different reses, and not my own, right? I lived there when I was like little with my grandma for a little bit, but I have lived on a few different reses. I currently live on a res that's different than mine, and I know how things go. I know how people can be, but yeah, I've never really had that. I've never really had everybody out for my head or anything like that, so I can't really speak on how that feels uh, per se. But what I'd like to do is like uh, maybe like because I don't want, like I said, I don't want to see all this bullshit, right? I don't want to see all everybody, hating on everybody and stuff. And I realize that does make us weak and stuff, but uh, how do we fix it? How do we how does we meet somewhere where we can all agree to disagree, maybe, or we can all come together? I mean, like, of course, me, right? I'm all over the place. Sometimes I make jokes. Sometimes I take a little bit of history. Sometimes I talk about plants or mushrooms. I'm all over the place, right? But I do talk about issues, or I help out where I need to, because I had that, like, with the community. You know what I'm saying? I have that,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I mean, like I said, we're all stronger
And
together,
that's the
right?
biggest thing. Like that's why nobody ever steps up in the Native community. And when they do, everyone just gets together and starts gossiping, talking about how it shouldn't be them or how they're doing it wrong and they should do this. And if they do that, and it's just this whole should, coulda, woulda, and it's never who it should be. And that's just like why, like, you don't see that in the Native community. Like even the medicine man over here, like, and I'm on the other side of that where I've seen that a lot because I've actually lit the fire at weekly sweat lodges for years, and while working in human services in the Native community, and have people in the community actively come up to me and talk crap to me about the ceremony man running these sweat lodges, telling me he's doing bad things, trying to make it so that I don't even go out there. And
Yeah.
that's just the kind of things that happen in Native communities. The medicine man gets smack talk about. Like, it's just like when you're doing that kind of work, it's just like nobody thinks you should be doing it, and everybody thinks you're doing it wrong, and everyone has a better idea of how you should be doing things, but they ain't gonna do it, you know? And that's why I'll say that our culture is what people are doing. Okay, if somebody's doing the culture, if there's a dancer out in the powwow grounds, as an example, and he's dancing with his regalia, and you're sitting in the stands and you know that he's doing it wrong, right? Like, oh, you're supposed to do it this way, right? Who's doing it right? You sitting in the stands knowing how it should be done, or him actually out there performing in front of everybody for the ancestors? You know what I mean? Like, who's doing the culture? It doesn't matter how you're supposed to be doing it, it matters who's doing it in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand that. I mean, there's always going to be people that would rather sit back and criticize, and that's not a native thing. That's like everybody. You know what I'm saying? Uh, um, and certainly, I mean, there is people that do that. I'm not gonna say there's not. Uh, but like, okay, I don't know. Like, here, the only people that I think would talk about the medicine man or our medicine man uh, badly is probably maybe Christians or something like the Christian natives. You know what I'm saying? Those type of
Right.
people. Um,
Right,
but
or the dudes, whose women he told they need to leave him.
yeah, right. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, gave bad advice or something, or advice they didn't want to hear or something. Yeah. And well, then we got B too, Beatrice Jackson. Do you know who she is? She's been around. Well, she's retired now, but she was around for years here, and yeah, everybody loved her, man. Everybody, nobody ever said a bad thing about her, but she was a pure being, man. Like she still is. Just all around good person. I've never heard her say anything bad about anybody. Uh, she goes up and out of her way to help. You know, she went out to Standing Rock. She's fighting the line. Was it line 5 or something in Michigan? I think I got it right. Line 5. Anyways, the one that goes in the Mackinac. You know that one and stuff. Because you know if that breaks, you know what happens. So she's out there doing all that. You know, and she takes time to, like, if you talk to her, if you reach out to her, she's there no matter if she's swamped or not. And this is an older woman. This is a woman that had cancer and beat it. You know, this is, I mean, she's a really amazing human being. And I haven't heard anybody say, but I have heard people say, maybe, and it was the Christian natives, you know, about Donnie and stuff. And, but yeah, I don't, I understand that, but my whole thing is like, there has to be some way that we can all just get along, you know. And I think we should. I mean, obviously, we're going to disagree at times. Obviously, we're going to
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I feel like the spirits are guiding my journey. You know what I mean? And if I seen somebody else doing what they were doing and I didn't agree with it, I wouldn't tell them they shouldn't be doing that. I would just wait and see what happens to them, because if they shouldn't be doing that, they won't be able to keep doing that for very long. You know what I mean? And I've seen so many different sweat lodges where I've seen two different guys who learned how to do their sweat lodge from the same guy, and they still do their sweat lodges a little bit differently. You know what I mean? And they're not going to say that the other guy's doing it wrong just because that dude doesn't do this thing in his. You know what I mean? And I think that is, as far as the sage teachings about selling it, like, yeah, if that's what your teaching is and that's what your elders taught you, like, that's okay. Like, go by that. But, like, I feel like I got some different teachings and I do my ceremonial stuff. I live this life. It's not just a fad. It's not like I'm bridging that gap between like mundane and spiritual and regular everyday and meaningful and purposeful. You know what I mean? I'm trying to bring the purpose into things. And I really try to do that with all of my content. I try to make every video I make meaningful. Very rarely do I put up, good old shit posts, you know what I mean? Because I feel like people follow me for that meaning and a certain education now. So I don't want to waste their time with just some random post because I can't think of anything for that day, you know? And so, like, that's, I've chosen that path and it seems to be working. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I know I don't expect a whole lot of people to have my back. I do expect to get a lot more criticism than support. And the support that I do get from my followers is what keeps me going. The positive, man, if I could show you all the messages I get where people are like, oh, I was disconnected my whole life and I never got to learn about sage and I got some and I used it today and I could tell and everything's different now. Like, they're so grateful and thankful that they had the opportunity to learn how to use it and actually get some and do it. You know what I mean? So like we have to remember that there's like so many other people with different experiences out there as far as what they have to offer and their availability. You know, if we want to talk about the difference in the culture, like the native culture versus the colonizer culture, right? The native culture, we got medicine and spirituality, and they got like money, right? If one of our people is disconnected and was raised in this culture, then they're culturally going to have extra money because they work and they made their way in this culture. And to get back to exchange for this culture, they exchange their culture for this culture, right? And we need each other's culture to exist right now. We need some money to pay the bills. They need some medicine and some teachings to find that meaning and purpose and healing and just the regular everyday stuff they do. You know, like going to work as a nurse, you know, going to work at the gas station. What about them? You know what I mean? Like regular people are trying to find meaning and purpose in this society as it's shifting right now. And I feel like these medicines can really help that transition when people are awakening to what your real purpose here is on this planet as a human being.
Yeah, I mean, I like I was saying earlier. I mean, there's like we all got different way. We're all different. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of our core, you know what I'm saying, core beliefs and stuff among different tribes and stuff are very similar. Um, the
Mm-hmm.
important stuff, right? But you know, different things, and I talked to you earlier about yeah, they sell sage and stuff at the Zibwing Center here, you know, and uh, yeah, they've done it for a long time, and yeah, they'll probably continue to do it, and that's them, right? That's them. That's them. Um, but yeah, I don't look. I don't. To be honest with you, I don't know how to be the glue between everything that's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like the hate that you get, which I don't like seeing. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a difficult for me in my understanding. Uh, yeah, I disagree a little bit, you know, on certain things, but yeah, we just like to find a way that we can coexist. You know what I'm saying, and you know, have each other's backs and uh, be part of the people. You know, um, and I wish that it was. I understand that you have to make a living. I understand that yeah, we need money in this society, and I wish everybody did like the back in the old days, where if you got you know, if you were teaching, they looked out for you. You didn't have to sell anything. You didn't have to do anything. They just looked out for you. That's how it was. That's how our people used to be. If you were of value, so you know they gave you stuff. You know whatever you needed. You never went without because they valued you and they appreciated it. Today in the society, people will if they can get it for free, they'll get it for free. You know what I'm saying? They don't ever think about the other person. There isn't that selflessness, you know. Uh, and I understand that, yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. That for the culture, the society that we're in today, you know. So the old way of how a lot of us were taught, especially on this platform, you know, it's different even in person, right? In person, people are more inclined to help you out if you help them. Versus this disconnect. Even though we're connected right now, there's still a disconnect. You know what I'm saying? Uh, so I understand, you know, in that way. But I don't. I'm gonna rack my brain and I'm gonna try to figure out a way that maybe we can all come to an understanding and give each other one big hug. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and come together because yeah, we're gonna disagree on stuff. You know, there's but you know. Uh, you listen to me, I listen to you, and we understand each other's thinking. And yeah, I'd like to see this whole mess end, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but how? That's the whole thing. So yeah, that's what I'll be thinking on. So yeah. Anything else you'd like to
And that's
say?
the thing. Well, I agree. I agree, and I think that just to go back, like I was coming up with this system, right? And I think that ultimately, once we develop this spiritual paradigm, there will be some sort of ranking system, right? And just to give you an idea or to use a metaphor, we can use Star Wars and the Jedi, right? When people are first learning about things and they're learning from you and they're learning from books and they're learning from videos and whatever, they're like younglings, right? They're just learning. When you find somebody to learn from, then you're a Padawan. When you find a master, right? And the Padawans and the younglings shouldn't be teaching everyone else, right? Once you attain your connection and you get permission from your master to teach or whatever, then it's like you're a Jedi. A Jedi can teach the younglings and a Jedi can take on the Padawans. And that's what we have to make sure is that the people who are given the teachings and taking the lead on those things have attained that Jedi status where they can listen to the Force and use the Force. They have the connection to the spirits and they're doing things in their way, right? And every Jedi, if you got that connection, they can't tell each other what to do, but they'll respect each other and understand that, you getting your message from the Force, I'm getting my message from the Force. And, if we back each other up, we can do that, but we don't have to agree on everything. We just have respect for each other. Only the Master Council, the Grand Council of Elders like Yoda, can tell us what to do, but they don't exist right now. Like they were dispersed, just like in the Star Wars movies. They were sent out, you got to know where to find Yoda in the woods right now. And he doesn't have the authority to be able to gather us together and guide us like in the old days. So we have to do our best as the Jedi to feel the will of the Force and bring our respective gifts into this place. And that's how we exercise as the Jedi, like, your gifts. If we're on TikTok making content, one of our gifts is just simply being able to teach and speak. Not all Jedi are going to have that gift. And that's why a lot of them that I know, they don't make no videos, but they light the Sweat Lodge fire and they do ceremonies on people and stuff. And it's just what your personal respective gifts are, and that's what I think. Once you understand that, you find ways to utilize them in the world. And if we want to use like being a kung fu master as an example, you would go and start a kung fu school once you got the permission from your master and you were fully trained, right? And so it's like, as a Jedi, it's your job to find your will and way, listening to the Force, because there's really no one to tell us or guide us except the Force. And trying to find people to support and who are on the same level as you to be able to talk about different things and find a different direction and go together, right? And so I think that that might be one of the ultimate things, is forming some kind of community or group of people who can make sure that the levels or something, you know what I mean? It's just like in Star Wars, we gotta bring back the Jedi Council. We have to be the return of the Jedi and bring the spirituality back to the earth. But we have to make sure that the Padawans and younglings aren't trying to teach each other because they don't really know either themselves. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, just like the whole incident there with the reconnecting native thing. You know what I'm saying? Oh, thank you. The where these guys went off and tried to attack somebody that he does it does teach and stuff, and uh yeah, they're all reconnecting, but then they went and went hard, on an attack to try to get somebody. And yeah, it's kind of like, I guess you could say that the Padawans or whatever were attacking a guy. So I mean, I get what you're saying, but yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I need to go to sleep probably. I'm dead.
Well, it was
So
a good talk, man. It was a
yeah, we'll
good
do it again
talk. And just in
sometime.
case anybody wants to know, originally he was one of the people who was against me when, everyone back in January, a bunch of natives, and we have have since found respect for each other, and we've got each other's backs on our videos and topics and stuff like that. And so whether we agree 100%, we found able to respect each other. And we could even use Modern Warrior as an example, right? Like, I don't agree with everything he says and does 100%, but if I feel like he's in trouble, I'll go and have his back, right? I'll help him. I'll double team on, you know what I'm saying? And it's just because, like, it's like what the Jedi would do, the warriors would do, right? If you're a Jedi and you've seen your Jedi buddy like battling some Sith Lord and he was having trouble, you would just step up and help him. You wouldn't ask him why he's doing it and make sure everything's legit, right?
Yeah,
And that's what I think. We're all on we're not on the same exact mission. We all have our respective paths and different things we're bringing into the world, and we just got to back each other up and just respect that that's what we're doing. That's what I think.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I enjoyed talking to you, and yeah, maybe sometime we'll do
Yeah,
it again. And if I brainstorm any
definitely.
ideas, I'll let you know. if I bring,
Definitely.
I
Thank
come
you
up with
very
something.
much. It was a good time.
Well, enjoy the rest of your night, and I don't know, I'll let you tomorrow or something. Take it
Sounds
easy,
good.
bro.
Have a good one.